Okay, we're joined by Rob Deluca from UFO. How are you, Rob?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much, Jay.
Thank you so much for joining us. Conspiracy of Stars is an amazing new album, and I know you guys are touring the world, so we're very excited to have you spread the news. Now, I know the band goes back forever. I mean, UFO started in '69, of course, with Phil Mogg and Andy Parker, and, of course, Paul Raymond joined them in '76. But such a history, such a legacy. You know, the band has had influenced so many artists and such a history. Tell us a little bit about you joining the band, because I know you come from Sebastian Bach's band and Spread Eagle and Averth and some great legacy of your own. But to talk about getting a call and joining a great group like UFO.
Thank you. I was recommended by Ron Thal, Bumblefoot from Guns N' Roses, and I was very fortunate to have him recommend me. They had a short history of visa problems with Pete Way. I think it happened 2 or 3 times within a couple-year period, and they were getting ready to come to America, and it had happened again where he got refused. And so Vinny and Ron Thal are really good friends, and Vinny was talking to him and asked him his opinion, and Ron put me forward, and didn't have to audition or anything. It was a done deal, and I think it turned out really well. So I was so blessed to have him recommend me, because when you get someone in that league saying, "No, this is the guy, don't worry," it goes so far, it goes such a long way.
Absolutely. And Vinny is...
And I think he was right. He knew it would be a good fit. And, 8 years later, I think Ron was really spot on with that,
Sure. Well, talk about playing with Vinny, because, again, he's been a standout for UFO for the last decade or more. Tell us what, Vinny brings to the band and why his playing is so special.
Well, what doesn't he bring? He's just so good, he's, as far as a soloist, I think his reputation, from what I've discussed with some hotshot guitar players, is Vinny is seen as one of the cleanest players, and that in a really, saying the word clean in a very positive way. His technique is he's up there amongst the most flawless that a lot of people aspire to get to. So that's one obvious thing. But another thing about Vinny is he's a fantastic rhythm guitarist, and people don't mention that as much because they're tripping over themselves so much talking about his soloing. And he's a fantastic songwriter, obviously, because he's written the music to most of the UFO songs for the past 12 years. By far the lion's share of songs that have been written musically, the musical end of those songs, in the last 12 years have been written by Vinny. So he's a great songwriter also. And he's a hell of a nice guy. He's very humble. He's easy to get along with, easy to tour with. So basically, what doesn't he bring?
Sure.
He's amazing.
We'll talk a little bit about that. A lot of people think it's all about the playing, it's the flash, it's the partying, but when it really comes down to it, 22, 23 hours of the day, you're not on stage, and you got to have somebody that's easy to deal with and an honorable, professional person where their personal habits don't, get in the way or anything like that. Talk about, for a touring band these days, how important it is to just be a really solid person outside the player.
Absolutely. I've thought of this a lot, actually. I think the obvious thing is, you go to an audition or you're auditioning people, and the obvious thing would be you pick the guy who's the best musician. And in those situations, the best musician will probably be the most, there may be a glaringly obvious person who's better. But the real way to pick someone to be in your band, I would have to say it covers maybe 10 different points, and one is the obvious, how well you play, and they get less and less obvious as they go along. But I'd say, in no particular order, it would be how you play, how well you play, that is. If your style is compatible, how well your tone is, which is a whole art in itself, the quest for tone, and that comes through how you hold your fingers, how you press down on your frets or whatever, and your gear, your guitar, your amp, how you look, how you perform, how you sing, if you show up on time, if you're prompt, if you have a history of substance abuse, if you're cool to hang out with, if you're annoying, that doesn't help, that's for sure. How you dress, which also comes into how you look, your image.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's probably 10 different things. So my point is, if you're in a situation where you're truly being considered over, say, maybe not on the first audition, but as it's a process that you're going through, say, that where all these issues are coming out more and more as time goes on. Whether you're auditioning, or whether you're on the giving or receiving end, if you might be auditioning someone else. I think the best musician in the room may not be the best for the gig when you consider all those things. And as I said, if the audition process is a lengthy one where all this will flush out, you may pick the guy who wasn't the best musician, but you realize he's by far the best for the band because the guy who's the best musician doesn't have a passport and he can't get one, or something like that. It could be a lot of things. So the good thing about this line of thinking is, often you walk in and you're not the best musician auditioning, or there's some really amazing musicians in this world, but that shouldn't be discouraging for you, and it shouldn't make you think you're not going to get the gig, or make you work less hard. You have to say, well, I have a lot of things that a lot of strong points about me, and eventually the right person will see all those points. So.
Well, yeah, touring is such an important part of the industry now that, without a tight unit, you've got, a loose wheel that's just going to come off the truck at any point. And
yeah.
You guys obviously have a solid unit, and hats
yeah,
off
we do. We've done a lot of shows, yeah.
Yeah, hats off to Pete Way. I mean, absolutely amazing, legendary bass player that you're now playing those runs and notes from. But Pete was obviously a loose cannon and an extreme partier, and it catches up with you. No human is indestructible.
No, but you never know what's going to happen. Like, I'm not assuming that he's never going to come back. I'm also not assuming he will come back. I have no idea, and I don't know Pete. I've never met him, but we've actually emailed back and forth a couple times, and he seems like a really nice guy, and he's been very supportive of me, and I want to be very supportive of him too, because I know he's been dealing with some health issues, but the guys miss him. They love him. He's their brother. So who knows what the future will bring, but I am, he is a legend, and he's an incredible musician, and he has written some timeless songs and timeless bass lines, and I do enjoy playing them a lot. I really do.
Well, as we get to talk about the new stuff, why don't you talk about the classics? And I know it must be increasingly difficult to come up with the set list because, the hardcore fans want to hear all their favorites, and you want to certainly introduce them to the new ones. Tell us about some of the classics that you're playing now live and, the fun in playing those.
Well, they are amazing to play, those songs. I think they have about 6 culturally important songs that have to be in there. Love to Love, Only You Can Rock Me, Doctor Doctor, let me see,
You got Lights Out.
Candle, Lights Out, and there's one more I'm missing, but
maybe Rock Bottom or
Rock Bottom would be it. Yeah. So those 6, are the most popular ones, and most of the time they're going to be there. But then we do a lot of other classic ones. We do Mother Mary, and so we cover that base pretty well, and then usually beyond that we try to play as many songs off the new record that we're promoting as possible, depending on how well they go over and how strong the record is or whatever.
Sure.
And I think right now we're playing through 5 songs on the new record. I don't think we're including them all in the set at the same time, but we have 5 that we've worked up. So I think it's safe to say we'll be playing 3 of those on any given night, and they might switch out.
And tell us about the new album. What you're most proud of achieving. With that, what the fans can expect.
Well, what I'm most proud of is just how cool it sounds and how well I think we put it together. I think we constructed it really well, where it's solid. It sounds really convincing to me, and it was a great process. It was a lot of fun. It was very low stress. It was just a very positive experience.
Fantastic. Well, we've talked about Vinny, and we know how solid and what a asset he is to UFO. But tell us individually about the core members. Tell us about Phil Mogg and obviously that legendary voice. But what kind of a character Phil is behind the scenes.
Well, I said in a blog that I put out a month or so ago that he's a devilish pleasure to make music with. And I think he is a little devilish. He's got a devilish streak about him, which is very playful and very fun. He keeps things interesting, and he's an instigator a little bit, and really cool guy, incredibly talented. His body of work speaks for itself. He's just written some stuff that will be around long after will be appreciated long after we're all gone. And his tone has gotten better and better as he's gotten older. I think he's a much better singer now than when he was, in his 20s. I guess it could be argued you lose a couple notes off your top end as when you're in your mid-60s and up there singing, but regardless, I think he's a better singer now, and I think a lot of people think that. And his melodies and lyrics are fantastic. Andy Parker is he's still incredible powerhouse drummer, and the thing that is most special about Andy is his groove. It's just it is something you can learn, but deep down you either have it or you don't. And Andy has an incredible pocket to his groove. Just feels so solid, and Paul is an incredible keyboard player, pianist, synthesizer, organ player. He's really amazing. I think at times when people are tripping over themselves about Benny's soloing, which is incredible, that they might not notice how great of a player Paul is. And he really is fantastic. And then he also plays, he's a great rhythm guitar player, and he plays it strung upside down. So he plays left-handed, but he doesn't change the strings. So the strings are strung like a right-handed player, which is really wild.
Wow.
Not that many people have done that, just a small amount of people.
Yeah, well, Paul's been a real strong part of UFO since '76, and partner in crime with Phil, and of course Andy goes all the way back to '69 when Phil and everybody formed the band. So what are you most proud of, being a member of this group when you go out to Europe or America or Asia or different parts of the world and play these classics and feel real strong that the new ones stand up as well? What are your most proud feelings?
I think that probably is, in a nutshell, what I'm most proud about of what you just said. Playing those songs, knowing that I'm up there playing those songs, not just in the audience watching them, those are legendary songs. So it makes me feel really, really, it's very rewarding to play those songs. And the fact that we're playing songs that I was a part of too is alongside them is just what you mentioned is probably what I feel best about.
Sure. And obviously trends come and they go, and UFO, still survives and succeeds. And, there's something about, longevity. There's few bands that started in '69 that have core members still in the band and still making vital new music. What does that mean to the band?
Well, you'd have to ask them that, but I'm sure it's better than not playing. I'm sure the alternative isn't as appealing, to be sitting home and not making great rock and roll. So, they obviously love it. They're still doing it, They wouldn't do it if they didn't believe in it. So it's a good thing.
Sure. And as far as tips for new artists and new players coming up, obviously the business has radically changed, but there's still opportunities for those that figure it out and find where they fit in. What advice do you give to a young player coming up in the business as far as really finding their own style rather than being a follower, really find their unique style and sound and, be an asset to a band like this?
Well, it is important to be not afraid to be unique, and developing your own sound, like you said, and also what I said in the previous question of all the things that make a musician desirable isn't just about being the best player, even though you should always strive to be the best player. There's a lot of other factors. So if you're not the best player in the room, you shouldn't get discouraged. And also looking at the industry and knowing what, where the goalposts are. If you're just looking to become a star, or if you're just looking to get rich, this is probably not the best industry to go into. So if you have to ask yourself why you're doing it, and if you want to be creative and you love music and you want to make a statement, then you should move forward and not listen to anyone and pursue it as hard as you can. Also, you should look around you and see how hard you're working. If there's other people that you see working harder than you, it's unlikely you're going to succeed. I mean, especially what if you're in a small town? If you're not even the hardest person working at your goal and you're in a small town, imagine how many people there are in bigger towns that are working harder and succeeding. So you have to be realistic about it.
And from your perspective, there's so many great independent opportunities right now it's easier to record, it's easier to get your music up online or your videos made or get them posted, and there's so many tools for musicians or artists to really get their music out there without a record label or record deal. What do you say to encourage those artists? Don't sit there and waste your time and just looking for a record deal, but go out and create something special where companies may come to you and want to do business with you.
Absolutely, because the fact that there isn't as much money in the industry as there used to be, and there's less money on the table, you have to think smart. And if you're basically asking for a favor from a record company, you're giving them, the keys to your city, basically. And just any time you enter into that kind of scenario in business, you're going to be compromised and you're going to get the least amount offered to you. But if you're a commodity and you're interesting to this record label or anything else, any other kind of business situation, if you're interesting, then they're going to offer you more. You're going to have more freedoms or rights or things like that. So I'd say go out and make a big name for yourself, get popular first, and then you will have bargaining power with a label that comes around if it's the right label for you.
And in closing, Rob, why should the fans, whether it be new or longtime fans, come out to see the band on the Conspiracy of Stars tour?
Well, I think what we do is there's not a whole hell of a lot of it out there anymore. You know, it's just real classic hard rock being performed at a really high, competent level with some really strong players. So I think when you see UFO, you see something that, you know, may not be around forever, like as far as the genre, you know, like that. Those 70s guys, you know, they're all in their 60s, and if the world isn't nurturing younger bands that can fill those slots, you know, then you know, what will happen? So I'd say, you know, it's the band. You should see them. You should come see them first and foremost, just because it's a great band. I mean, like, it's not about what they used to be. Right now, the band is great. They're absolutely great and powerful and amazing and moving. But you should also have that in the back of your mind. Also, like, you know, what's going to happen when all these legends are gone? You know, is there a new crop of legends coming up to take their place? You know, so you should see the important bands that built the pillars of hard rock, you know, while you can.
Well, we really appreciate everything, Rob. We're so excited about the new album and the tour. Can't wait to see you out here stateside, and best of luck to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.